From the time of the recording, although this will differ from the time of the upload, it is the Easter Sunday. So happy Easter. And if looking back, happy previous Easter, happy foregone day. I think it's appropriate to note significant dates, and that this day has influence on me, and I feel it something through me, giving me insight of how I should sit down today and conduct myself throughout this video. If I am able to say a few things about today's activities and about today, I had a chance to visit a church, a service, a mass for Easter Sunday today. And I was lifted up from my own physical self. I believe that through the service, I was reminded of the importance to listen to yourself, to upkeep a clean soul, promote actions and an environment that corrugates blissfulness. That is a form of clarity of mind, and that to be done is extensively difficult because anything that is positive has to require a lot of sacrifice, and anything that requires a lot of sacrifice is therefore difficult, because sacrifice means that you have to let go of something, and to let go of something, that means it's close to you or it's a part of you. And for you to call something a part of you means that there has to be a certain value associated to that, because otherwise your own intuition would not respect this part that you're willing to sacrifice as valuable as anything else that you might have present in your own self. And sacrifice, of course, doesn't require to be physical or something external, like anything that is valuable, that is that you can exchange something for it, but also a lot of inert aspects as well. And to achieve all these aspects like blissfulness and cleanliness of own individual soul, a lot of the impulses have to be subdued, and those are the things that you really are very keen to sacrifice initially. And impulses means something that you would like to do now, which might result in not great circumstances if you conduct them later on. But these are very all well-known things, and in a sense you have to persevere for the benefit of your own future. And this is not an original idea, but I think this is healthy to pass on that message. And how this day and some of these reminders, and not to go fully in depth about maybe other aspects that were reminded, but I think these few can describe more or so accurately how it has inspired me to sit down today. I feel like after the last piece, how we were at home and cozy, now I think we are trying to expand the sphere of influence of my comfort and calmness and bliss, again, as if I am to say, onto a larger radius than my home. And I can already sense where my drawing might want to go. I think I will go back to nature again, and an emotion of sunlight, an emotion of peacefulness, perhaps hard work, so that would be the form of sacrifice, maybe a form of terraformation, so terra as in earth and formation as in formation, and reconstructing that maybe through hard work, at least as symbolizing of that. And the showcase of sunlight, showcase of flourishing nature, which may symbolize the fruits of sacrifice, and how may that shape the environment that you're in. So I think that is a healthy concept. It's a solid concept. It's not a joke of a concept. Because this one is unlike maybe still life, where you're maybe you're trying to portray peace, solidarity in your space, from the form of from the form of flowers or the produce, or maybe something that is very fulfilling, wholesome. But here in this concept, we are tackling a form of a moral compass that through which you could then make that dream of peacefulness that might have been sketched previously into your day-to-day. So no longer envisioning these little thoughts and maybe wishes, maybe these little dreams, but almost providing a source of information of how to at least take the first steps towards that. So I think that is something like that. And moral compasses, they are no joke. And that intimidates me if I am having to describe anything in depth. So I will only, I believe, conduct the things that I truly believe, and not to swerve off anything that is outside of my own personal experience. So what I'm saying is, hard work does bear some fruit, and I'll put a connotation on some, because you can extravagate unlimited branches off of that. And some you could say in quantity wise, how much fruit, maybe unhealthy fruit sometimes. This is where we I'm not gonna go into that, but in terms of topics like this, and I think this is a very healthy submission for this diary series, because this is what my thought process is invoking me to do now. And this is almost as if, well, I am now delving into the questions that everyone sometime throughout their life asks themselves. And those questions, I believe, have been asked by everyone else multiple times since maybe they were very, very young. And that is okay, that is correct. But here, I think we're going to try and, for the first time, take that question, at least that one, and intend to answer it with my own full self respect and gratitude for the answer I'll try to conceive. I'll place a lot of respect for it, but also in this way, not through verbal, maybe thought processes, but through art. And we'll see how that goes. Okay. Okay, so we'll try to put a very broad thing, and maybe through time these concepts can narrow down, but I think it's very appropriate to start very broadly at the beginning of how to answer these questions through art specifically. We could sit here for a good half an hour and we could talk through this, and not the only one that I think this is one of the most very, very common things that are being discussed, and there are very affluent and very articulate answers to these questions. And that is fair enough. But everyone has to find a form of interpretation which works for them. And I think for me, I have listened to the answers many times and they were heard and registered. But my soul is telling me to transfer that knowledge or that different type of encipherment, this code, this form of numbers, words in my head, and place it onto the paper. And maybe then words will no longer be required for me to understand this concept. Or it will be so clearly apparent to me that it will become as common sense and then so vibrant and clear that offsets from that the interlinking of this one little nugget and how it interlinks with the entirety of this sphere of thinking might begin to be even more enlightened. So that I'll end it on that, because this you could, if you had a very interesting conversational partner, you could make yourself multiple types of, well, you could make yourself a nice French press, sit outside in a spring day and endlessly debate and communicate and thresh it out. So, well, there's an ambition here. Maybe in the future there's a conversational partner where I show my drawing, they show their drawing, and we don't speak, and we're like, oh yeah, wow. Oh, I didn't think of it like, yeah, okay. So that's the plan. That's the plan. Okay. That's what we're gonna do. Okay, so I'll cut to myself beginning this drawing. Okay, so as with the progression of drawings, we are now beginning to challenge ourselves a lot. I see that some of the concepts which I have are sometimes not able to be expressed from the initial go. And that is not anything wrong with that. It just means that it's on the frontier and we are yet to practice to be able to draw them out from initial go. And I didn't have much issues with the previous pieces which I've done, but this one, it's gotten me to that stage. And that is just a very welcome invitation to grab myself a sketchbook, grab myself a pencil, and what we're going to do is quickly jot down some concepts of and developments of what we have here. And just to give a little bit of a closer look, so the angle is not great, but we felt very warm and very intrigued whilst drawing this, but I don't know if I'm able to capture everything that I want this piece to capture. And I think that is due to composition this time. The feeling which I sense that this image will bring out is very warm and makes me want to continue and see what is there. But because we found difficulty in producing the first initial concept correctly, I think this wow. Wow. I just understood it. I just understood it. What did we say? What did we say about it being sacrifice and hard work? This is the wow. Huh. Wow. Okay. So this is not an angle for that. This might have to be something like that. And maybe a little bit more up top. Like that. How's that? Okay. So we're just gonna test out some things. But wow, that's what a realization. Okay. Interesting. Okay, so I'm gonna probably test out a few of these. I'm gonna look at it. We might come back to some of these ideas and maybe we'll ditch some things. Maybe we got something right from here. Maybe. Did we? I don't know. Okay. Oh, hello. So we have a very interesting one, I believe. we have a very interesting one, I believe, because we started off with a clear emotion. We sketched out something that was fulfilling to be sketched, but something that told us that needs to be developed, that needs to be threshed out. And we tried to sketch out some composition pieces that could maybe direct us. And I think we, through that exercise, a little bit attempted to force out certain things that where we're not supposed to be. I think that we overtook our ambition and replaced it with principles of something that looks good, something that is very pleasant in composition, but I think that we try to embark ourselves on a correct path, but in a wrong way. I think that a lot of impulsiveness came through me to compose this piece that I'm working on here. Not initially, but it made me fall into a trap where, because I'm not content, I decided not to follow what I truly wish to place on this campus, but I replaced that with, regardless of that, I'll just pick out cherry points about what this composition is trying to be, and then I'll brainstorm things that can kind of look alike together, and use a lot of almost like trial and error, problem solving, mathematical ways how to place this piece together. And I really did not enjoy that, and I instantly felt afterwards that it was wrong. So I think that well, out of that, I left this piece for a day. I did not do any sketching yesterday because I was overwhelmed and almost felt very negative that I chose to go onto that path and leave aside the true intention which I feel within me that this piece should succumb to. So I think we're going to close our eyes and re-embark again in this concept. Truly feel that calling again and sketch over, use this as a base. It might turn out completely different, but I feel like sometimes it's better not to start from a fresh piece, but instead use this as a blueprint, use this as the path that has already been traveled, and see the footsteps that we took, and see maybe that we do not go down that route again. And this is very visual, a very visual example of that. Imagine if this drawing right here was a form of footsteps in the snow in a nice winter evening, and you're trying to get back home, and you see that the footsteps that match your feet have already ventured that direction, and then you stop and you say, okay, I would have went here again perhaps if those footsteps were not present, but I see them, and let me take another path, let me take another direction. And that is exactly it. This is exactly why we're not going to start the drawing again, because we want to be able to be exposed to those footsteps. And if I was to take this piece off, tape up another, I would perhaps step into the same direction once again unknowingly. It would be as if I let the footsteps snow over and trust myself, put the intuition onto me that I am not going to make that mistake again. And that's a healthy thing to do a lot of times, but sometimes you have to be cautious even on your own intuition. And you have to allow some sort of assistance to guide you. And this is exactly, I think the purpose of this drawing that is teaching me. So there we go. I think that was a very helpful update for myself as well to acknowledge. I'm aware that this is the first time that I would almost as if backtrack and take the lessons learned and go on to another path so vividly, so apparently, that it actually scares me a little bit. I'm actually extensively intimidated, nothing to what I was in comparison to other pieces, maybe even all of them combined. But that is exactly why this requires this to be the path, that the journey that needs to be taken. So yes, I'll do just that. And even to buttress the point that I'm making right now, that I will use a darker shade of a color to outline something out of me again. And that is alongside with the analogy that I am making, that look at all of this, it's already paved out, all these little footsteps and everything. And sometimes, so you can see where you're going or where you went already, you might want to change the shape of your shoes or discolor them somehow in the snow, or step deeper, but you want to make sure they are distinguished in another way. So I will use a darker shade of a pastel or something that is equivalent, and will tread forth optimistically, because I believe that's the only path that is to bring fortune, and it's a requirement, as it's a duty to not begin with content, to then be discontented, and then to remain discontented, because you are aware that some things that you do are going to be putting you into that state, and you should be always wary and always concerned and never to get out of that place again, so you don't fall in there again. No, I think that's a very easy way out, and I think that's a state which is very apparent, that an individual does not want to get disheartened again, so is disheartened all the time, to not feel the shock but be as if always expecting it. No, the duty is to conquer the path that you're on and retrieve the contentment again, and learn how to fight, how to stand strong on your 2 feet, so you can retain that, because that's the only way the doors open for you. I believe. Um, I believe so. Okay, I think that's a good enough explanation, and I think it's for us time to set in. Okay. Okay. Um, Hopefully there's some clarity here. So I think this run has been a success. One thing I'm ambiguous about is this house, but not in a sense that it's filling space, but because, and ambiguous, I would like to clarify. I am unclear. This house is always showing up. Always. It's just that it's like it wants to be placed somewhere. Is it my house? I don't know, but for some reason whenever I think about nature, whenever I want to implement a scene of vegetation, of plants, of trees, of landscapes, of water, of streams, anything, there always has to be a house. Clearly there's something being told about that's within me. Is that the wish of where I would like to live? Maybe. Well, it is. It certainly is. It's not nothing. No need to lie or pretend that it's not. So I kept it. I will keep it here. It wants to be there. Let it be. Let it be placed. I think that's that. Okay. Now, I think the composition is almost complete. What I'm going to do, well, there will be less intersections. There'll be more parts where I am drawing. I am just looking at this house What's going on with it? Oh, excuse me. But okay, I think this is where I begin. Okay. I tend to enjoy having or finding order in a lot of things that I do. For example, I like to make a very expressionist drawing, but then corrugated so the borders are very clean from the masking tape that I place. I enjoy putting my oil pastels really out in the open when I'm drawing, but then when the session is over, to put them back by the shades of color. Very, very, very well organized. I like to, as I place numbers on the videos that I'm uploading, as this one is number 9. It's an odd number, whereas number 10 is the one that marks a big checkpoint. And I'm aware of that. And sometimes those ones subconsciously give me a challenge. It's as if the devil inside me, he understands that these are things that I want to be very proud of, and he throws in those sticks in the wheels just to try and block it. And the trick is to stay in the moment and carry on with what you're doing and be humble. But still, you have to get on top of the gate of the kingdom that you're trying to defend, and you have to be wary, because there will be an ambush, there will be a push from not only from your own self and the things you have to take care of within your own home, but from the outside as well. And I bring this up because this is intending to be drawing number 5, which I have on the wall. And it's not an even number, but it's half of 10, and it's one of those multiple of 5s. And I enjoy that. I very much enjoy that. And I think because that is, I am having to also battle a lot of external forces that are trying to not make me succeed. And in the way that it's surfacing its attack onto me with this drawing for number 5 is it's clouding a lot of my I think that's not correct, actually. Actually, I think it's not the devil. I think it's God. Because what I wanted to say is that something is clouding my Ooh, excuse me. Something is clouding my vision of this drawing and saying to me that you can do better. And things that I would traditionally would compose this piece by, I think God is telling me that now, because it's number 5, simple won't do. With this piece, I've experimented a lot with composition. I am still not set, and I am very far into the drawing, and I'm still not set on the finalization or how this will look, as I am not, it's not content. Every time I'm beside it, I feel such joy and almost tears in my eyes that I'm on the on the cusp of me exploring what's within me and placing it instantaneously. It's not dwelling in my mind. It's not spinning. I'm able to just express the things that I wish to express artistically as it arrives. And I think it's again stepping on that notion of, it wants me to examine more what the true intention is. And whenever I come up with a concept, it says, no, not this one. And I'm excitingly shocked by it, stumped by it. Oh, okay, yeah, you're right. You're right. It's as if my own contentment relies on something else guiding me, and until the soul or this voice in my head externally granting me the permission to place certain things on the paper. As I do fall into traps sometimes where I get overconfident in my own decision making, and I relax, and I tend to get into a stage where I begin to take decisions that were not intended as a long-form strategy that would grant me benefits and fruits from a tree which I plant, but it's some things that would give me positive boosts instantaneously. Well, impulsivities, I suppose, but we're talking about a slightly different angle. So that's fascinating, I think. And that analogy about defending your kingdom is, I think that the way to rephrase that is, the way its defenses are laid, God is telling me, have you not stepped out into the wilderness for a long time? Were you dormant for so long that you're not apparent of the external threats that are, and their scale, that are about to descend onto you? Do not be silly, do not be stupid. I know that throughout your ambiguity and also your naiveness and absence of the current state that exists externally, we will forgive you as you have not yet seen or have forgotten. We will guide you. But most importantly is that you let yourself be guided, and you get up to speed very quickly. I think that's what a good sum up is of the experience that I had whilst drawing this drawing right here. And we are gonna continue this. We're going to tread through this, hopefully land in a nest from which I can comfortably fall asleep and worry not that I will have to be awakened rapidly out of my slumber that I wish to go on to, from at least a light slumber, from the seeds that I am sowing, from everything here. And if the devil does knock on the gates, I am able to put on my clothes, my armor, gather my tools, my weapons, and head forth with confidence in my mind that I have anticipated this, and not to be shell-shocked into a position where not only the external threats that without warning are swinging their swords at me, but also with the troubles of startleness, disbelief, fogginess of where I am, what am I doing, what have I done, and what am I going to do now? This is an examination of me from God for me to prepare to carry out its tasks for the future. That's exactly what this is. And with that, let's head forth. So a quick update before I get back to it. I think that a notable amount of progress has been made. And we're going to continue. We're still wary if anything pops up. I do have an eye on a number of things that I'm gonna work on for this sitting, and hopefully just in terms of that the canvas is all filled in with color, that's suggesting that it might perhaps be towards the ending part of the drawing. But I will stay extensively humble, as I do not wish to say any or anything that would provoke the ending of the drawing, because we have fallen into too many situations with this drawing where we make the incorrect assumption. So with that quick update, I will also be silent on the things that I will amend, because do not want to give it a spotlight and condone it to being altered more than it should. So very ambiguous commentary that I am providing here now, but in good sport, I suppose, as we are here and ready to go. Okay, all right. Let's have a look at it from afar. Okay. How about that? How about that? So, okay, alright, I'm gonna have a look at it from afar, examine it, maybe come back to it, fill in some things. I see some inconsistencies within the sky. Some of the pastels, they don't fluently come together, and the tones are slightly off. And I'm looking to examine this from afar so I can maybe catch some of these things, not being too perfectionist about it, but to catch simple errors. And ask myself, not myself, but ask the guidance, the guide that's within me. How about that? How about this? So hopefully I'm gonna be able to come to a verdict or receive a verdict and come back to comment over it. Okay, that's the plan. Okay. Whew. Hello, this beautiful evening. The last sit down, I believe, before we complete this piece. We had a good look. We observed it to the full. We observed it to the point that to phrase it correctly, well, to phrase it correctly would be if I phrase it out how my mind wants to say, is that after looking at it before getting to this stage, there were things that were hooking me to say that you are not performing here to what you are required of you to portray yourself on this canvas. And now when I have a look at it, I am without any hooks. The drawing itself has let me go. It has released me from its vices, and it is content, and I am thankful for that. I will touch it up, run through last certain areas of this drawing just to amend very few minor things, but I believe that we are ready. We are ready to place it amongst the others. And with that, we will do that. So I think let's do exactly that, very simply. Okay. That's it, we're done. We're done. I'm gonna set it up and do the reveal. Oh. Boy. I think I have to sit from this way this time. That is because I haven't managed to sweep the floor yet. And not only sweep, but to give it a proper wipe of all of the pastels that break off or drop. And they are not chalk, which even though chalk is also not great, but pastels, if you want to get some on your clothes, yeah, please do. If you're looking for a very unique design to permanently be slashed onto your attire, especially for your formal wear. Not that I'm wearing any formal, but if you start, it will end up not stop at your worst, but at your best. Okay, here we go. Exciting part. Really exciting part. Ooh. Here we go. That's the first. That's the first little rip, which went into right here, if it's visible, which went into the painting itself. And fair enough. I don't doubt that there will be many more of these. It could actually be the thickness and the layers of pastel just stuck together, and not necessarily the paper which ripped it, but once you lifted a slight tile of the pastel in that area, a chunk that it was connected to, lifted up as well. And I say that because this is an extensively thick drawing, especially on the bottom area. Whew. The thickness is so great that the shade that it casts onto the paper from the layers of pastels, you could take a break from a hot day to cool your drinks there. The shade is so big. Here we are. Wow. Wow. Okay. Wow. Okay, let me set it up, hang it up, and do some close-up shots and talk about it for one more time. Okay. I'm trying to see myself. Okay, I think that's enough of poses. So let me place it into a pocket and we'll place it on the wall. Okay. That's it. Well, all of the contrast has clearly left this image after placing it into this pocket. But maybe it's just the glare from the lighting. Let me hang it up, see how it looks. We have done it. We have done it. I picked the most appropriate place for hanging this piece. In the corner next to the brick. And the reason why, as this brick, this feature right here, it extrudes out into the space, sometimes casting shadows, depending on which light is on. Either it's this side, either it's this side. And this piece, with its sun's warmth, will always enlighten this area which casts a shadow. My wall is seemingly becoming filled, not full, but filling. It's a very surreal emotion. Of the evident progress. I have just noticed that this piece, a little bit of a sidetrack, which I do not want to take, as I believe there's important things to be said about the completion of the drawing here, but I have noticed that the paper on which the drawing has been drawn is allowing for the bleed of the moisture from the pastels. So the moisture is leaking out of the boundaries which the masking tape provides, and you can see a very thick line of moisture around. Fascinating. I didn't believe that pastels are able to do that, but that's also something to keep in mind then, that the paper matters a lot. But coming back, it is difficult to get into the same state of emotion as I was whilst in the thick of it, of the drawing, as I am only in my foresight able to comment over my experience and not the true embarkment that may open certain things that are only able to be open once you're there, as the emotions, as I like to often say, of ambiguity, of unknown, are there with you at that time. And now, since that is behind us and we're only able to see the very ripe fruits of our labor, well, my soul seems to say that. Thank you very much. It is difficult for me to assess and revert back to the initial concept which sprouted out of me. We are aware of the concept. We will not repeat it. But I believe that through the perseverance, this piece has allowed for us to listen to the guidance that the above, the within, the inert has given for us, and through that we direct it to the finishing, well, resulting conclusion. And my soul is very calm when I am within the presence and within the proximity of this drawing. You gave it everything that had to be given. You could have went on a different path, of course, but you were given a path. You chose it. You took responsibility for it, and this is what came to fruition. And I am glad about that. So this is number 9 within the video series. Next one is double digits, number 10. I think I have to give it its gratitude through the wilderness, through the still life, through a lot of emotion. This is the first upcoming checkpoint. And with checkpoints, that usually intends to signal is that you're able to make a pit stop, regroup, rest, enjoy. So the intention is to celebrate. Celebrate the accomplishment and moving into the next stage. And with that, I believe that the most appropriate way to celebrate is to close the first chapter with something special. And open up the can within you that often likes to dream and has a lot of ambition, that tells you, wow, how cool would it be if you did it like this, did that. And I'm very keen for number 10 to open that up and live almost within my own fantasy, or the fantasy that I have dreamt about and now able to be within and present. So I am thinking that I will take a little bit longer to compose this next piece, number 10. We have gathered a numerous amount of lessons, not many yet, but to what I have been before, it is numerous. I do not know what I do not know. And I want to do something big. I feel as if I have done a very common emotion. If you do something that you are very proud of, you think you can conquer the world, or at least every step you take, everyone please move out. I am walking home from the nursery. It's a very notable saying from where I am originally from. Everyone out of the way, Domantas is walking home from the nursery. Most important individual at that time. It's time to go home. So with that, I want to live in that moment for the number 10. From number 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. And then I understand we will be humbled. Things will come on to us that will say, what are you thinking? But I am building an artillery here of ammunition, of little hills. If one day I wake up and I see that I do not want to partake in stacking rocks on top of one another to make a hill, I can look back, or look around me therefore, and see all of the little stone little mounds I've made previously. So the question of, am I capable? Do I lack the perseverance? Do I lack the enjoyment? Do I lack the ambition? I didn't lack it back then. So that's not the reason why. Is it because it's becoming tedious? Well, that's why we want to live in a fantasy. Bring that in and partake. And I think that's how, well, with little splashes and splatters of your truly passionate items, I think that's how you influence things to continue and come to fruition more. Make it fun. You cannot, not to say that it's becoming tedious, it's the wrong word. And I think it's very important, very clearly and very commonly known that pit stops, as I am able to say, as you see maybe professional piano players, and they might want to just to catch a little bit of breath, go to somewhere a little bit more local, more public, and without the expectation to perform at the highest level. Perform in front of an audience that is very surprised that an activity such as is even exhibited in the first place. And I think that role that one tends to wish to not be under, as if to be required to participate at the fullest performance, actually gets even more extracted out of you, because you regain that rejoice, that fun, that entirety of reminiscence and reminder of the reason why you initially picked up that certain aspect. And that's what I am very keen to progress on to now. So yes, we are not trying to hold our tongue with anything that we say anymore, as we are also beginning to understand. We are going to go through all certain types of moments and aspects, but we're trying to find ways how to sustain and not to only stay afloat. Come on. Not to gather ourselves up on the float, on the log that's simmering without your own input and direction in a stream, in a river. No, that's also nothing. Not to sit there and brazenly wave your hands in, at least you're not wet, you're dry, but still with the intention to proceed without responsibility, as you're letting it to be let go, as for the raft that you're on to take you to the destination that it wishes to take you on. It'll be what it'll be. I have done enough. Come on. Awesome. You want to stand up, one foot in front of the other, and surf. And you tell it where to go. You want to stop? Stop. But you have the power to make it stop. You want to turn around and go against the stream? That's also very interesting. But you want to build that affirmity that if anything ever or anything prickles you, you have your resort. Which will bring you up, remind you that you are well, you are. And not a resort, not to relax, but almost as a training camp. More like it. To resort, you have your bed and go and enjoy. But this is for you to come back, pay its due, train, invoke participation in life through this, for me, through this. And with your head high, as very commonly known, do take that step that you feel firmly being held up, not only by the ground, but the ground feeling your step. Both of you equally, bouncing one another. Not where you step on the ground and your leg, what's going on here? The world is disappointed. The world grew you and it's looking onto you and says, what have I grown? What have I made here? I am so large and this and all of that, but of course I want to have some ancestors that I leave. The future generations which I want to allow to continue on their own. What's going on here? But also the opposite. You don't want to step into something that is a slush. Then where are you? Why is it slushy there? Malleable. Muddy. Long stilts you require to traverse such terrain. Be careful. But yes, number 9, number 5 on the wall. A little quick overview of them all. We have liftoff. Godspeed. Godspeed. And with that, I will end this. Number 10. Number 10.